Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's play some UnderRail, shall we? Well, you'll notice I am back in time, or back further in the Abyssal Station, because both my good friends, and thank you for your comments, Key and Rob about Todd. I messed up Todd. I didn't realize that if I interacted with Todd in that way that I had permanently damaged my chance to ever do anything with him besides kill him, I suppose. And I don't want that outcome for Todd. So I don't do this too often in the game, but I am going to roll back, and I'm going to try to save Todd's life, because I find him such an interesting character. Like, if he's an original survivor of the Abyssal Station, I really want him to be around. So I'm going to do my very best to save him. I've saved a new game right out here with that in mind. So I'm, I know a little bit that there's no enemies really over here, so, excuse me, my objective is to find him and save him. Alright, so there he goes. He's exercising. And I don't know if I want to, like, right before I interact with him, just crank up my speed or not. Or my strength so I can grab him and tackle him, or what my plan should be, We'll see what we can do. Here he comes. Alright, I'm going to save it, and I'm just going to kind of save right here. I don't know if I need to have read all of the stuff in the computer before I can interact with this guy and use, like, what drugs I want to use on him. But I'm going to just go ahead and wear this. I'm going to get my strength up as high as I possibly can. And what is my strength? It is 7. So if I were to use bison milk and use my stim. Where are you? My adrenaline. This will take my strength to 10, I believe. So that should be good enough, right? To capture him. I mean, I would hope. All right, so I'm gonna go in my inventory. I'm gonna save it, and I'm just gonna use bison milk, and I'm going to use adrenaline, and then where is this guy? Catch him. Oh, darn. Catch him. I misclicked on him. Okay, I got to load it. The interface is not perfect for this. I guess I could just, like, try to enter combat against him, and no, that doesn't, I don't think that'll work. I don't think I can talk to him if I go into the combat mode. So I just need to basically... We'll eat the food first, because it lasts for a while. It lasts for 20 minutes. And then I'm going to... just for the time being, I'm going to put this on my action bar. And then... Got it, I think. Hi. I never thought I'd find anyone alive. Who are you? I'm looking for something called Acorn. Acorn, Todd, who are you talking to? And here comes his mom and dad through him. Do not interject. Alright, why do you have to exercise? He jogs away. No, get him. Okay. Do you have a microchip? I need some help. May I speak to your parents? Oh, interesting. Okay, this is something new. He closes his eyes, and the first moments pass in silence. A few twitches ripple across his face, but then he smiles. You wait longer until he opens his eyes. They are with the Ovinders, but they say you can join them, Mr. Outsider. Who are the Ovinders? They are my parents-in-law. Lead the way then, or however you want to do this. You wait a few more moments before a voice addresses you. Baritone. Ah, Mr. Outsider, so you are the visitor the Newmans have been telling us about. Gentle falsetto. Yes, the one that the Newmans have been telling us about. Nod. Mr. Outsider, yes. And you are Stig Oyvinder. Ooh, interesting. Okay. General falsetto. Asta Oyvinder. Our daughter Sineva couldn't be present. Hoarse falsetto. Ah, yes, and we're Shelley and Angus Newman. Welcome, and we apologize about what you heard during our first encounter, Mr. Outsider. Yes, we're sorry if the boy did something embarrassing. He's an imbecile. Angus, forgive our son, Mr. Outsider. He's been doing plenty of exercise lately. We all make mistakes when tired. Isn't that right, Angus? Isn't that right? Bass grumbles. Where are you from, exactly, Dr. Incompetent? Interesting. I'm from... Boy, interesting. How do I want to do this? I could say Lemuria. That's kind of what comes to mind. To put them at ease. I don't know. Lemuria. Lemuria? What? Oh, impossible. Is this some kind of sick joke? Remain silent. Well? I tried to just pretend it was a slip of the tongue. Hoarse falsetto after taking a deep breath. Oh my. What do I want to say? What if I say Southgate Station? All voices answer as simultaneously as Todd's vocal apparatus allows. Another station? Where is that? Ooh. Hoarse falsetto. Ooh, do tell us about the outside. Sure, but how much do you actually know about the outside? What's there to know, Mr. Outsider? It's nothing but filthy water. Presumably our guest is wondering if we know what's above all of that water, beyond what we can see through our windows or have been told by our grandparents. Oh, wow. Okay, never mind. So I didn't understand this at all. I kind of thought for some reason that this guy had some medical miracle technology that was making him hundreds of years old, but maybe people did live in this substation for a long time after the fall of Lemuria, and now he's the only survivor, but it wasn't actually that long ago, and he's of normal age. He's not been in, like, cryogenic sleep or had any kind of genetic operation or anything to preserve his life. At least it appears so. It looks more like people have been down here for generations and they have no idea what's going on outside. Ah, that. Well, wait, don't you have any pictures or any data from the past? Not as much as we'd like. A long time ago, there was a great energy emission that wiped out almost all the data from the central database. Documents, pictures, video files. Barely anything survived. Barely. So we rely on the few bits that survived the Great War, the aforementioned emission, the disunion, and everything up until now. We rely on those and artistic renditions of what those things might be like outside. Well, how do you imagine the outside, then? I like to think that all this water is in a large room so large you could spread your arms and run around and not bump into anything, and there is a tower in the middle, a tower with a blue light on the top. I saw that in the painting. Well, maybe Biocore destroyed it, but again, maybe they didn't. Biocore destroys everything. Now, the towers are still there. I don't know. My father told me there's no ceiling above the water, but just one big empty... What would you see when you look up? Nothing. All black, I think. Some people were talking about... Yeah, I remember it clearly. They were talking about there being a big natural light up there, dome-sized, even bigger, but that ought to be the light on the tower Shelley mentioned. It ought to be. We all know from experience that if you want light, you have to make a light source. Light doesn't just shine out of nothing. Aww. With that, I can agree. I just realized we never actually discussed anything like this before. How exciting. Asta, what do you think is up there? Almost everything is water, and on the water there are stations, some under the water, but most above. Your people like stations above water, while we, sub-islanders, like stations underwater. It explains the physiological differences between our two people. Besides, we know that sub-islanders come from Atlantis to Lemuria many years ago before moving here. What? It does make sense. As for the question of how do we imagine the world above, there is some land there, we know that. Islands. The bits of land are called islands. There are stations there too. In general, people live in stations. It's warm, safe from whatever creatures live outside. It has to be cold outside. I can't imagine the size of heaters it would take to warm up that kind of space. Wow. And it's probably unsanitary. Yeah, she shivers. I never let Todd touch anything unclean. He catches all sorts of things, but he's a good boy, and he listens when I tell him to wash his hands or take a bath. You're overreacting, Shelley. It's his immunity. Do you want him to get ill, Angus? Do you? Baritone interrupting the arguing pair. Mr. Outsider, how about you tell us what it's really like outside? Oh, yes, please. Up there? They silently wait for your response. Let's see, how do we say this? There is no land outside anymore, only water. People live on floating platforms, some of which are at the mercy of the restless waves, some of which can move against them according to their own will and power. Biocore destroyed the outside with their vile weaponry, and few human beings survived the onslaught. There's plenty of land left, but it's dark and lifeless, the only exception to the latter being ravenous beasts with a taste for human flesh. There is a large doming cavern above their sea, but also plenty of land. The land is populated by various groups of people fighting each other all the time. Soldiers, pirates, savages. That seems pretty accurate. I'll just tell them the truth. I don't know. This might be a mistake. Savages? Fascinating. Oh my. They stare at each other in silence, processing what you've described until one of them speaks. Base. By the depths. That's unimaginable. Life is so dangerous outside, and I can't imagine how unclean it must be. The Ovenders remain silent, looking at each other from time to time. How do they look at each other? That's got to be a weird sight. Hoarse falsetto. Oh, I'd like to see the outside, but it's safer here, much safer and cleaner. Now everyone is silent and completely lost in their imagination. I had some questions about the station itself. Anything specific in mind? Would you like to know about the other domes? What other domes are there? Well, there is the docking by the cafeteria, which is where you came from, I suspect. Then there are manufacturing, residential 1, this one, residential 2, food processing, aquaponics, power, and finally research and development continue. Yes, research and development. The Research and Development Dome. That will be the western exit, but it's locked. It is locked. No one goes there, and no one should go to that dome. Curse it to the depths. Can it be opened? Of course, our family has access to it. The Newmans are, direct descendants of the last technology minister, Theodore Newman, so this family has always had the privilege of full station access, but the Olvinders do too, of course. But that dome is a place of tragic history and possibly great danger, and it hasn't been maintained in a century. I scared the boy away from it real good. You have to drill it into his thick skull, you see. Manufacturing? It's the largest dome, easily 3 times larger than docking. There was so much space above your head. So much you could stand on someone's shoulders and still have room above, but it was sealed off after a fire many years ago, back when I was a boy. In those days, we could still produce things with the machines that survived the disunion. By the depths, it was glorious, a network of assembly lines and Autobots, which my father told me back in his grandfather's day, processed materials brought in by sublifters from mining outposts and produced everything we needed, from simple number 1 screws to strongmen and sublifters. Now, we have nothing. Nothing. Okay, docking. You came from there, right? Via submarine or a subsphere, right? It's, after all, the station's only connection to the outside, the place where our ancestors arrived to their future home after being driven out of their former ones by Biocore, where the war for them ended. And the same place where yet another war ended. Yes. Anyway, Mr. Outsider, the dock hasn't been used since those days until you arrived, if you did come that way. Residential 1? Why, you're in it right now. This is where we live, all of us. The Olvenders have their own room, Angus and I our own, and Todd and Cinna have their own. We spend nearly all of our time here. I work in the doctor's office. Mr. Newman has his workshop, and my wife works here as well. I work here as well. I spend half of my time at the food processing dome, but the rest I spend here. There's not much to do elsewhere. Most of the fighting took place here during the disunion, you know. The cafeteria was where... Oh, I can't. Please forgive me. I don't even know why I started. My shop. Okay. Residential 2? It's the dome east of here, similar to this one. It leads to food processing and aquaponics. It was slowly abandoned following the disunion, as there weren't many people left at the station. All that free space, but after the boy messed up at aquaponics, we don't let him go there anymore. Angus, it was so difficult to maintain, and the walls have corroded, and the smell, and the filth. We only used the main hallway anyway. I'd never lived there. Never, ever. And that, incident, it could have happened to anyone. Like the fire in manufacturing, it was an accident. Damn it, woman, have you forgotten? The fire was started by a maniac who wanted to kill himself. Damned he be to the bottom of the abyss. He killed my father. Angus, Shelley, please calm down. Yes, Angus, control yourself. We have a guest. Oh, my. Aquaponics? Well, food processing and aquaponics are two sections of a single dome. Yes, think of it that way. It's where I work. The aquaponics is wonderful, self-contained automated system which unifies breeding aquatic life with growing plants, all for nourishment. And all of this is processed at the other part of the dome, and that's my job. I make sure that what we're eating is of the highest standards. Ahem. And the boy is silent to all depths, single-handedly. And the boy sent it all to the depths, single-handedly. He didn't send anything to the depths. I asked him to keep an eye out for the leak while you were busy repairing the door to our room. You remember, don't you? And he flooded the whole damn dome. The pipe burst. Why must you be so difficult, woman? The boy was tampering with the pressure controls on your console to, quote, fix the leak. Then he started turning the valves to fix what he fixed. The uncoordinated idiot. Then he super taped what he fixed by playing with the valves, and then it all went to the depths. You remember that, Shelley, don't you? Angus, 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 my son is not a lunatic roaming around the station sabotaging everything. If he was there, it was because I needed his help. He did what you said, but he had to because you weren't there. Now, I don't want to talk about this anymore. You're embarrassing us in front of everyone. Stop it. Don't you care? We have enough food to last us a long time. We'll pump the water out and restore the dome and forget about all this. Please forgive this digression. Wow. Power? That would be the southern exit, but it's sealed. Our generators are there. There's no way to repair them if they malfunction. No more spare parts, and the last one who knew how to service them was Shelley's old man, but they do work well still. That's why we don't want the boy going there. The substation units allow us to monitor and control the power levels, but the hydrothermal generators themselves are made to last. Huh. Alright, what about something else? Why are you here, if you understand? I'm looking for something called Acorn. Do you know anything about it? Acorn? No. What is it? All I know is it's a pre-Great War technology that's somehow connected to certain machines capable of traversing great distances, even reaching the surface. That's beyond outside. The surface? High technology, Angus? I don't know anything about it, child. By the depths. If it's important and it's here, then it has to be at the Research and Development Dome. That's where all important technology was brought during the Great War. My ancestors were researching in that dome, but I've never been told anything about this Acorn. It could have been taken during the disunion. It's possible, or it might have just been forgotten. And what do you intend to do if you find it? Are you just going to leave and that's it? Are there more outsiders going to come? Oh, I'd have to clean up the dome. What about us? What do I say to these people? I could just say, I want to take you with me, maybe. You mean outside? Mr. Outsider, we cannot leave. It's difficult to explain. Too late. But our children, you see, Todd and Cinna, problems here. I mean, it's a different world outside, but maybe... Todd's facial expression no longer corresponds to a single character, and he falls silent. This lasts for a few moments as his stare slowly drops down. We'll discuss this later. Where are we? I want to ask you some questions. Who are the Sub-Islanders? We are. That would be us, the Olvinders. We are the last of our people in Lemuria, me and my wife, and our daughter Cinna. Cinna, sweet, sweet child, our daughter-in-law. Base, appearing as though he wants to say something but changes his mind. The Sub-Islanders came to Lemuria way before the Great War, and we've been together since. Yes, our numbers were modest in the beginning. We came from Atlantis, a station that is said to be in a place called the North, in the direction of the docking dome, but way beyond it. Why did the Sub-Islanders come here? Our people were adapted to living conditions the native Lemurians were not. The conditions you witness here. We don't need much room, much light, much movement. This station was built with us in mind. It's much like Atlantis, the senior Sub-Islanders used to say. Sub-Islanders were perfect for working here and helping the Lemurian community. We performed mining duties, technology research, and along the way maintained our culture. What survived the integration, that is. We did live separately from the native Lemurians until the Great War, though. Then, many years later, disunion happened. We greatly admire the Sub-Islander language. Yes, isn't that so, Angus? Oh, and I have to add that I've always envied Asta for her beautiful name. It sounds so open and bright. It's the two A's, one at the beginning and the other at the end. Sineva sounds gorgeous as well. Thank you, Shelley. Everyone falls silent as discomfort in the air turns thick. What about the disunion? It's a separation of our two peoples, unfortunately a violent one. After the Great War, most prominent native Lemurians arrived to Abyssal Station, most ministers, their families, and everyone else who'd been selected. All was well at the start. Biocore never found this location, and the natives integrated into the Sub-Islander population well. Sub-Islander population. There was no segregation, and the two peoples lived together, room to room. There was one place where the natives didn't fit in. The Research and Development Dome had two sections, the General Laboratories section and the Special Laboratories section. The Special Labs performed highly advanced and specialized research and were composed of respected Atlantean researchers who preferred working their own way and didn't like the outsiders. Some of these were my great-grandparents, and everything I'm telling you now was passed down through the generations. The bloody lab, to the depths with it. Angus, do not interject. It's bad manners. It didn't take long before arguments over the administration of the Special Laboratories and the direction of its research made all native scientists leave. As years went by, this spread to general laboratories as well. One can say these were the earliest signs of tensions between the Sub-Islanders and the natives. And as years went by, the two people could coexist less and less. The medical problems the native Lemurians suffered from being incapable of living in confinement of the station, the resources necessary for medication, special accommodation, and later even artificial means of reproduction, it became a growing problem. The condition itself, this was seen as a weakness in the eyes of the proud Atlantean Sub-Islanders, an obstacle to their and the station's future. Weakness. Most of these sentiments originated in the R&D Dome. There were disagreements even among the Sub-Islanders themselves. Some felt that the researchers took on views far too strange and in some ways unreal. Their behavior changed as well. Their families, who lived in the residential domes, spoke worried about their beloved ones returning after days, weeks of absence to them, with obsessions regarding our ancient Sub-Islander culture, about going outside, the future and the past, the hatred toward the native sickness. That is, while they were still returning. See, all of this makes me really think that the Sub-Islanders, or the Atlantis, that there's some kind of connection to the snake people. You know, I don't know. But it just feels like maybe that was going on in the research lab, or there's something to do with the serpent people. But I could be wrong about that. They could be completely disconnected. I don't even want to imagine it. There was a moment in time when no one left the dome. All who went there stayed there. Thus, the station was in a state of fear, and security was on high alert. Then, about a century ago, it happened. The gates to R&D opened, and armed sub-islanders, disunionists, started pouring out, dressed in clothes described only as horrifying. They spoke in our old sub-islander language. My grandfather, a sub-islander historian, told me so himself, and he awarded this language the epithet bastardized. The cafeteria was where the largest battle happened. These madmen wanted to kill everyone. Everyone! This dome, it was a massacre. The disunionists killed their own family members who refused to join them, the ones they could reach. Those who survived managed to lock themselves in and defend the second residential dome and the one beyond. Food processing and aquaponics. Power dome remained sealed as well. The disunionists left for the outside through docking. They took the pre-war subspheres. They left corpses and desolation behind them. About 20 or so survivors, mostly native Lemurian and about 3 disjointed sub-islander families, which would later all merge into Oivinders. There was, of course, some unfriendliness at that time, and some regrettable things were done, but we all got along well after that. Yes, it's horrible, isn't it? Us, we were all born that way. We were all born way after all that, and we have nothing against sub-islanders, but our grandparents, they lived through it, they remembered it. There were beatings, murders, suicides. Angus, please, let's not go into the details. It's all in the past, please. But it's the damn truth. The disunionists destroyed the things we needed to stay. Angus, enough. We better end it there. It's a difficult subject for all of us. Okay, how did Lemuria get its name? All at once. It's, you see, by the depths, that's a tricky one. I think Lemuria means lost land. Maybe our ancestors rediscovered whatever it is up there which had been lost in the past. Oh, that's interesting. I believe it actually means sunken land. It makes more sense, seeing as that we live underwater. From my understanding, it is, in fact, a land or an island bridge. You must remember, Shelley, that life wasn't always submarine. The bridge could be a symbolic bridge between native Lemurians' old and new life here. I think there is a kind of fish or a crustacean called lemur. These either lived here when your ancestors first came or were named so because they were bred by Lemurians themselves. Makes sense. Could be. Ultimately, its meaning could be something from the ancient times which has been lost along the way, like many other things. Where'd you say it might be? It's locked. Okay, I need to get in there. I'd like to know more about you. Well, we'll go first if the Olvanders don't mind. Where to start? We're descended from the Lemurians, which obviously found their refuge here, refuge from Biocore. He utters it with undiluted hatred, clenching his fists and scowling in the process. The Newmans were reputable architects, you see. They were the ones who designed Lemuria, and Theodore Newman was the last technology minister, a powerful man who surely would have become prime minister if things hadn't turned out the way they did. Meanwhile, I'm a direct descendant of the great composer Kurt Reilich. Yes, although there aren't many family names left anymore, as my father used to say, make sons unless you want your last name extinct. He even laughs basily, but then his spirit wanes as his predicament comes into mental foreground, a fate which befell most sub-islanders. Most of our family names were lost due to old family name inheritance laws. Completely lost. Yes, but our family name has survived to this day, and so did yours. To this day. I'd like to talk to you about Todd. What did he screw up now? Angus, please, don't jump to conclusions. It's nothing of the sort. What did you want to talk to us about? Can you let Todd unlock the gate to R&D for me? If the boy unlocks it now, what's next? He'll go there and screw something out. Flood the station. There could be germs there, viruses. He could get sick, or if he follows you, hurt himself. New, unknown spaces are likely to cause him stress. Plenty of stress. What you see in Todd's face seems to represent everyone looking at each other. Their verdict a silent, resounding no. Besides, he's got to exercise. Todd suffers from numerous health problems, both physiological and psychological. Life here, it's truly difficult, yes, but worst of all, Todd has fertility problems. The boy is useless. baritone before Shelley has a chance to respond. There's still hope for him and Cinna to have a child, but it all depends on him. I've treated Todd for years. There's only so much I can do. Gentle falsetto. No hope. Can I talk to Cinna? Unfortunately, no. She can't speak to you, or anyone else. She's resting. All of this concerning Todd, it's too heavy a burden for her. Okay. Angus? Yes? You don't think all too highly of your son, do you? How can I, Mr. Outsider? How can I? My only son, my blood, the carrier of my genes. Yet he can't even learn how to use a simple tool bracer. I've tried teaching him many other things, too, but he always finds a way to screw it up. Damn it all to the depths. With these hands, I alone have maintained this station ever since my father died. May his spirit float freely. With these hands I've brought servants back to life to take care of our two families, saved us all from the flooding and the loss of electrical power on numerous occasions, and my son can't even maintain his own room. The only thing these hands couldn't do was raise a man. Jeez. I'll think about all this. In the meantime, Shelley, do you think your son, you might be a bit too protective of Todd? I beg to differ. I'm as protective as a mother should be. It's my duty. Todd is a perfectly capable young man, but there will always be things where mother knows best, and mistakes happen. Mistakes happen. Like when aquaponics, there were many ways he could have hurt himself, and he needs to eat well, and why should he worry about it if his mother isn't elementary technician? It's my expertise. I can prepare everything for him, and no matter how old he is, he's to me still that little boy from our family portrait. Family portrait? Oh yes, in our room. Family portraits are a matter of tradition here. Every year, an entire family would get photographed in the photo room, and effects and backgrounds of our choice would be added. It was wonderful, so had little taste, but in our family it was something we'd spend a lot of time planning to get a perfect picture. But after the photo room equipment got broken down, we stopped doing it. Angus tried repairing it, but there's no way to manufacture the replacement parts. She sighs. I'll think about this. In the meantime, Stig, do you think the regimen you've put into Todd is really good for his psyche? His mental state is indeed delicate. Todd is suffering from a complex form of infantile regression, a condition in which a person regresses to an earlier stage of development. Adapting childish mannerisms and behavior, it serves as a defense mechanism to protect the psyche from an unacceptable reality, in his case, his fertility problems. However, mind and body are interconnected. His problems, fundamentally, are physiological in nature, so treating these issues will inevitably reflect positively on his mental state. There's an old Lemurian saying, a healthy mind is a healthy body. Exercise will not only help him get fit, but also help him reduce stress, and exercise decreases tension, elevates the mood, improves sleep and self-esteem. I have years and years of Todd's test results on my computer, which have led me to these conclusions. Tests? What kind of tests? The ones I keep on my computer in the doctor's office. They're various and numerous. I've been Todd's physician since his birth, after all. I'll think about this. Asta. A strange thing happens. Todd pauses. Todd, as he appears to have subtly fallen out of character, his mouth moving but no words coming out. Then, please speak to my husband. Okay. About other things? Are you really the only ones here? No servants to help you? Our two families are the only ones here. The only ones. Most servants were destroyed during the disunion, and we had no means of replacing certain components for the ones that remained operational. I do manage to activate a strongman from time to time, and when need be, but they don't last very long, and I have to mix and match working components between them. Yes, we used to have a modded handmaiden, Maud. She had some strongman parts, but only interior. She acted as a nanny of sorts for Todd and Cinna, you see. When they were little, she just watched over them and did simple tasks. Maud, the old gal's still around, but I had to deactivate her after she malfunctioned. Oh, don't remind me, Angus, don't. Todd couldn't sleep for a week. You see, Mr. Outsider, strongman power is similar yet different to a handmaid. Angus did not bring us to that unpleasant moment, especially not in front of our guest. I'll leave you for now. We'll be here if you wish to speak with us. Nod politely. With pleasure, leave. Todd, are you in there somewhere? He closes his eyes and reopens them. Me? Leave him be. He jogs away. Okay, so my stamina is gonna... My strength is gonna run out. I'm gonna have to use another stim at some point. But I think maybe to get this to work, I'm gonna have to open up everything and, like, have looked at the computer, you know, about Todd. Okay. And so I think I might also have to go to the gate and examine it more and just look at this. Bring my hand close to it. Don't have access. Exit. Alright. So in that sense, we're going to get in there. And I'm not sure if we get in there by grabbing Todd and holding him down and just, like, carrying him over here with our strength check, or if we can talk him into doing this or drug him using the appropriate cocktail that the doctor has laid out, right? I could use this to make a hypercervix, but I already have that. But I don't know if it's like, if you want to use it on Todd, you have to make it here first, or if it's okay to use one that I brought in. I really don't know. And we'll get into that in the next episode. This time, I spent a lot of time going through all of Todd's dialogue and learning amazing story. The writing in this section of the game is just superb, and I really love learning about, you know, what happened here. I had no idea that there was another, like, group of people, presumably from another underwater station, that came here, the Atlanteans, and then there were the Lemurians who were up, and they moved, and then those that survived the Biocore invasion moved down here. And then there was a war between those groups of people because of the research done. And then, like, the kind of real throwback disunionists left. And I feel like they maybe turned into the Serpent People, but I could also just be totally wrong. And I'm going to try to work with Todd next time. But everyone, I want to thank you so much for watching. We'll get through this gate, and we're going to keep Todd alive. We've got to keep Todd alive as a historical relic, if nothing else. And because poor Todd, we got to get him to stop exercising, right? Thanks again, everybody. Take care.